Hi, my name is Lana Geich. I am representing the Global Network of Healers. Got a wonderful person with us today. Her name is Dr. Selvi. She's from Edison, New Jersey, USA, and she owns Dr. Selvi's Cooking with Crohn's. Dr. Selvi is a medical doctor and she's a certified health coach, but more importantly, she is someone who's had Crohn's disease for the past 24 years and has been in remission for almost 10 years. Using her expertise in medicine as a health coach and her personal, of course, healing journey, this is her mission to help other people with Crohn's. She also works closely with irritable bowel disease patients in a customized, very structured approach to optimize their health and healing. Welcome, Dr. Selvi.
Hi, Lana. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. I can't wait to get into some of these questions. Shall we start?
Let's go for it.
All right, awesome. So tell me, what would you say and how would you advise someone to manage their fears given the current situation that's happening? So someone who's got, Crohn's or irritable bowel, what would you say to them?
And it's, I feel like it's so relevant right now. I've found people are just really afraid. So for someone with Crohn's in particular, or IBD in general, my first order of advice would be take your medications. There's a lot of fear of, do I stop my medications? Am I going to be immunosuppressed? Well, continue to take your medications because, first of all, don't make any changes without talking to your GI. Number one. Number two, even if you do stop your immunosuppressive medications today, it takes time for the immune system to bounce back up and you're risking flaring. So definitely stay on your medications. Don't make any of those kinds of changes for sure. Mm-hmm. And I would say also just for anyone to focus on, what is in your control. I know for a lot of people, they're kind of feeling like, your world's gotten turned upside down. Am I going to get sick? Am I going to catch this virus? Am I going to die is something that I hear about. And, to some extent it is in our control, but it's not 100% in our control, the spread. Yeah. So, focusing on what you can do to help yourself can really help to keep the focus on yourself and not spread into that global panic. And don't tune into the news 24/7. Anybody, please check in maybe once a day, but 24/7, if you have alerts on your phone, I plead with you, turn them off because that will compromise your sanity for sure.
Yeah. Well, we know what stress does to the body. If you want to tell people a little bit what the stress does to the body.
Yes, stress is just, as we all know, stress is bad. But stress will just kill your immune system, first of all. So that's the opposite of what we want to do, right? You want to have a strong body, a strong immune system to give yourself the best fighting chance that if you are exposed, that you're going to get away with just being a little bit sick and not, get really seriously sick. So we need to manage stress, right? So that's really important for anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially at this time.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. Where tension levels are just super high. It's almost even harder, but even more important right now to address stress.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are the best foods to have at this point to improve immune function, gut health, maybe even stress reduction?
Sure. So again, I think this is an interesting topic because as people tend to be stressed, right? You tend to kind of stress eat and then we tend to reach for the junk food. Mm-hmm. Anyone who knows me well knows that pepperoni pizza was my crutch food through my flaring years. I was not doing myself a service. So just for a really quick digression, but that was I wanted to feel better. So that was my emotional eating thing. And my mom was more than happy to go and get me the pizza because she wanted to see me eat something.
Yeah.
And needless to say, we know how that would have ended because my triggers, among other things, were certainly gluten and dairy. And I wound up with a food baby, which became a problem child, which would never go away, and screaming in pain. But anyway, back to your question as to what we should.
So you learned firsthand, then, Dr. Selvi.
For sure. Yeah. What not to do. I was the poster child for what not to do.
Fair enough. Sometimes we've got to go through that to know what to do.
Right? Yeah. Yes, it taught me the best lessons for sure. So in terms of what to eat, now is the time to take extra care of yourself. So to really make sure you're focusing on those nutrient dense foods, the leafy greens, a variety of vegetables, fresh fruits, proteins that are being sourced well to the best of your ability. It doesn't have to be a huge amount, but your wild caught fish, your grass fed beef, your pasture raised eggs. I was just talking to Lana about how, there had been shortages here and there. And so, certain things weren't as easy for me to source. So it's more about, quality versus quantity. So you don't need to sit down with a 1 pound steak, right? Nobody needs to do that.
Mhm.
Even if it's just 2 ounces and you get, something that's grass fed beef, for example, pasture raised, raised responsibly, that's better than the factory farmed meat, a larger quantity of that. So just being cognizant about that, I think, is important. So quality foods for sure, nutrient density, making sure we're staying hydrated. That sometimes gets overlooked. So making sure we're getting enough water. Herbal teas can be nice for a change up for people who don't like water so much. And vitamin C, so natural foods, so your citrus fruits. I love lemon in my green tea or in my water. Citrus fruits in general, so grapefruits, oranges, things like that. Bell peppers, strawberries, those kind of things. Zinc, so if you like oysters and you feel like indulging, go for it. A great source, but pumpkin seeds work really well too. Vitamin D, so if you can't go out for a walk in the sunshine, make sure you supplement. A lot of us tend to be deficient as it is, and we're coming out of winter. So most of us are going to be deficient in vitamin D as it is. So just make sure you're getting a supplement. And yeah, those.
And luckily we already did an interview with Elizabeth Karchit, and she talked about some of the important vitamins and minerals that we need, just like what you're talking about, and kind of what to do. And she goes on to a little bit more depth so people can go and take a look at that. But that's phenomenal. I love that you sort of corroborated what she said. So that's phenomenal. So if we looked at it in the opposite direction, what are some foods then that we should be avoiding during this time that might maybe compromise our immune system and gut health?
Sure. Those, honestly, sorry to break anyone's heart, tend to be the foods that we want to reach for right now. A lot of you are probably like, if you're feeling stressed out, you're going to want the sugar, you're going to want the chocolate, you're going to want those processed foods that taste so darn good, but they just make you feel horrible. So those are the things to avoid, really, is the sugar, concentrated sugar. So even sodas, for sure, that are kind of obvious, but even fruit juices, if you're having like lots and lots of fruit juices that are having concentrated amounts of sugar, you're just going to be messing up with your immune system, because your blood sugar is going to spike, it's going to drop, your body's not going to work as well as it should. And with the trans fats and the processed foods, there's just lots of preservatives, things like that are just going to muck with your body overall. Your body is just, it's not feeding your body. It's there's this one actress, I believe it was Cameron Diaz, if I'm remembering correctly, who wrote a book about nutrition, from what I remember. And she said, just because you can chew something, swallow it and poop it out, doesn't mean you should eat it. It just means you can chew it, swallow it, and poop it out. And unfortunately, that's kind of the truth with processed foods. And I get that they're addicting, and I get that they can taste really, good for the moment, but they're not serving your body overall. When we're trying to strengthen our immune systems and keep our bodies at tip-top shape, it's just not going to do what we want for our bodies.
Yeah. And some of this stuff is not actually food, right? The processed stuff you talked about is not food, and so your body doesn't recognize it as food.
Correct.
And then your immune system gets activated because it's thinking, what is this? We need to get rid of this. This is not food.
Correct. And it's wasting energy that it should be conserving to fight an actual
invader. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly. And can you tell us now, so I think this might be a good sort of segue into this question, and about what some symptoms are. So some people don't know about gut health, and they don't know about how it's connected to immune function.
Okay.
So maybe you want to tell us a little bit about that, and then perhaps also mentioning some of the symptoms that people experience when they are having gut health problems, but don't necessarily know it.
Okay. So the interesting component is that about 70% of your immune system actually resides in your gut. And so to have a really strong immune system, it's crucial to have a really strong gut as well. Now, with people like myself having Crohn's disease and the patients that I work with, also, Crohn's patients, IBD patients, you're kind of at a disadvantage because our guts are already damaged, so to speak, right? Inflamed and what have you. And so it's all the more important when I work with them to really ramp in there and really, delve deep and get that gut into as optimal of a shape as we can to improve their immune system overall.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, with an autoimmune disease like IBD, the immune system is it's attacking the gut. So whatever strength it does have is kind of being wasted almost attacking the gut rather than attacking an invader.
Yeah.
But overall, for anyone, if your gut health is compromised, your immune system is just not going to be as strong. It's not going to function as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so going back to your question as to, gut being off, oh boy, there's a whole laundry list of symptoms.
Yeah.
As I'm sure you know. Anything from brain fog, so that like sort of foggy head feeling, like where you feel like it's middle of the day and you still haven't woken up, and it's sort of like that feeling, and things are not very clear. That's a big one actually for a lot of people who are just like, well, I don't know why, maybe I just need more coffee, and it's actually not coffee, it's there's an issue in your gut.
Mm-hmm.
To more obvious things like bloating, constipation, or diarrhea.
Mm-hmm.
To things like even joint pain, joint swelling, vision problems, any of that sort of thing. Or even if you just notice that you're getting sick easily, it could be that your gut's off too.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Not to mention gassy, I think is probably one of the
Yeah.
symptoms, right? Like you're.
Sure, yeah. So bloating, like where it's stuck inside or where you're passing a lot of gas, and you can clear out a room in a second. So.
So if that's your intention right now, yeah.
I know some people who probably wish they had that problem right now. Spending a little too much time with certain people they'd rather not.
Exactly. See, Dr. Selvi's got a good sense of humor. We had a good chat beforehand, so I'm glad they get to see a little bit of that too. So in terms of kind of what to do, so now we know a little bit about gut health, and I should mention actually, when it comes to your gut, a good chunk of your neurotransmitters are also formed in your gut, and these have a direct impact on your brain and how your mood is regulated or dysregulated. So certainly mind-body connection is in that gut, and so it is very, very important to have a healthy gut and eat some of those foods that you mentioned already and stay away from the others, like pizza, or minimize as best as you can, because pizza's that's my thing too. I love pizza. And so let's talk about some of the things, stress busters. So as we know, obviously we don't want stress. Stress impacts the immune system. And what are some things that you, aside from laughter, because we're definitely in that, we're letting people know that's a good stress buster. What are some other strategies to manage stress?
Exercise, believe it or not, because sometimes it's just like, especially with anger, I feel like, when you have a lot of pent up frustration, just moving your body can help to move that energy through, and it can help you to get rid of some of that stress. If you go for a walk outside, sometimes that can just help to clear your head for sure. Yoga, meditation. And I know there are some people who are like, Doc, I'm not a meditator. Like, what do you want from me? That's just a little too out there for me. It doesn't necessarily have to be, sitting cross-legged and, meditating. It can be anything that kind of gets you into that state. So for some people, it's running, for example. For some people, it can be painting. It can be creating anything. Like, I love to cook. So sometimes when I'm in the kitchen, I'm in like the Zen state, and I'm just like in a happy place. So any of those sorts of things where you're focused on something that is really feeding your soul can be a really great way to break up your stress. And journaling is another one that some people like too, just like getting it out on paper sometimes is enough to get it out of your head.
Yeah, very true. Lots of different strategies for the mind, the body, emotionally. Those are all very important things to regulate, right? The emotional well-being, your mental well-being, and then your physical well.
Mhm.
Can't forget any of those.
Absolutely.
Are there other self-care strategies you would recommend that's important now more than ever, given the current climate?
For sure. So, what I feel really strongly is that, now when people are really stressed and, panic in general seems to be at an all-time high, it's all the more important to take extra good care of yourself, to really give yourself that TLC. So eating right, sleeping well, managing your stress for sure, and maintaining some sort of sense of routine can help. A lot of people who had been going to the office to go to work are now at home, and they might be with their family who they're not used to being around 24/7, which can be joyous, but it can also be straining in its own way. So to have some sort of semblance of routine. So, getting up, getting showered, getting dressed, like, feeling like you're sort of going to have that productive start to the day can help to get you in a better mindset for sure. And I would say also just take a few minutes for self-care, whatever that means to you. So for me, it can mean like maybe taking a bath or running some essential oils through the diffuser or lighting some candles or whatever it is that you might love. Just to treat yourself just for you, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, can work amazing wonders
Yeah.
to your overall well-being and to your mood overall too.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And so if somebody wanted to meditate, you did mention that. It's not hard. Meditation is not hard.
Mhm.
How do you meditate?
So I like to play a little bit of background music, so either binaural beats or some sort of like quiet meditation ambient music that I find on YouTube, and I just close my eyes and I just notice my breath. So it's not forced breathing in any way, shape, or form. It's just observing my air going into the nostrils, coming out of the nostrils, and noticing that it's usually cooler going on the inhale, warmer on the exhale, and just observing that. And then thoughts will come into my head. So just seeing those thoughts. The hardest part is probably trying not to judge the thoughts and not getting like on that runaway train
Yeah.
with
Don't get caught up with it. Yeah. Yeah.
goodness knows I've done that before. So it's just trying to, see the thoughts, acknowledge them, and let them go.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what I do. And so it can be as little as 5 minutes. It can be as much as an hour. I have built up to that, some days. It just depends. But as
And
little as 5 to 10 minutes a day can make a huge difference. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. And I do it too. And some days I don't. And I definitely notice when I don't.
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
I do.
1 hour. You are a champion. I wish. I don't think my focus is that good.
Meditation retreat. So that was like 9 hours a day of meditation, which was
Oh,
amazing.
you build up to it then. Okay. There's hope for me after all.
There's always hope.
That's good. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. It was such a pleasure. We'll leave your information as part of the post so that people, if they have questions, they can ask. And thanks again. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much for doing this, Lana. It was an absolute pleasure talking with you.
You as well.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye-bye.